course, that brought about a huge wave of refugees and humanitarian crisis. And subsequently, they supported a reform of a broadening of the transitional government to include political leaders who had been actually part of the Islamic Courts Union government today. So the president of Somalia today was the head of the Islamic Courts Union government in 2006 that the Bush administration toppled. That shows you how, U.S. policy, even under Bush, turned around.
But I mean, it just seems like every single foreign policy that the Bush administration touched, they destroyed. Especially when it comes with the Middle East, the Muslim world, everywhere they intervened, it created more violence and more instability. And directly in this situation where there was no piracy under this loose network of courts, by toppling them and creating more hatred towards the United States, because they were also, I guess, doing some bombings on villages, it created this growth of piracy, which led to the arrest of all these people and the payouts. When is somebody going to actually, from the administration or the government, make this acknowledgement? You don't hear this on television saying, hey, we contributed to this situation.
You don't, unfortunately, and it's you don't see much, certainly not in TV, a little bit in the press. If you follow the coverage in the New York Times and Washington Post, there's some acknowledgement. And Representative Payne was last week on the Travis Smiley show, and he was talking about these facts, that aren't getting enough attention. The role of the U.S. invasion and U.S.-backed Ethiopian invasion, destabilizing the country. The fact that the fishing livelihoods of coastal communities have been undermined by another form of piracy, the international piracy of European and Asian fishing fleets illegally fishing off the Somali coast, taking advantage of the fact that there's no effective Somali government to protect the country's coast. The toxic dumping that's taken place, illegal toxic international toxic dumping off of the Somali coast. So it's being reported a little bit, but it's not getting the top. It's certainly not getting the top billing. Certainly not in TV. Explaining to people what are the roots of this crisis. How did you get? Why is it that these people are engaged in piracy? Well, part of the story is that a government that was mostly effectively controlling the country was toppled. Another part of the story is that the livelihoods of these coastal fishing communities have been destroyed, and
by the dumping,
by overfishing,
by the illegal fishing of the illegal international fishing.
Actually,
the
the British press was talking more in depth about it, and I think The Guardian wrote several pieces on the idea that some of the people in the coastal cities of Somalia are contracting diseases related to nuclear dumping, and that some of these expeditions, or sometimes when these pirates go out in the sea, is to prevent these ships from dumping their waste in the water that eventually reaches the people and pollutes their lives and their livelihood. But it seems that the United Nations and other institutions, global institutions, are not paying attention, Robert, to the illegal dumping in these waters because there is a lack of a strong government. Why isn't that part of the discussion rather than just send people to kill these people or send them more weapons like the Prime Minister of Somalia is asking for? Why aren't environmentalists addressing this issue?
Well, I think part of the solution would be it should be part of the solution if you're talking about increasing the capacity of the Somali government to deal with piracy, which they are. That's a big part of the International Donor Conference they just had in Belgium. Of course, what you really should be talking about is increasing the broader question, increasing the capacity of the Somali government to control its coast. And that would mean stopping piracy, and it would also mean stopping the illegal fishing and the illegal dumping. And also, of course, there's a question of remediation. The international community should be helping the Somali government and these communities in cleaning up the coast.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for being on True Talk.
You
wanted to ask him?
One more thing about the pirate that they arrested.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think should happen to this young man that was arrested? Some say he's only 15 and is underage. Others say he is an adult. Either way, he's being tried in New York. What do you think should happen to him?
He's being tried as an adult, and as you say, there's some dispute about what his true age is. His father claims that he's 15. The court found otherwise. I think that the prospect that this poor kid is going to spend the rest of his life in prison in the United States, which is what they're talking about, doesn't fill me with any sense of justice. I think that the thing that ought to be focused is solving the problem going forward. And the thing, people have the idea that we have to, punish crime in order to deter crime. That's not really going to help anything in the Somali situation. The potential Somali pirates are not going to be concluding from this trial in New York, oh, we better be more careful, because there's way too many potential pirates for the U.S. or any international coalition to go around arresting them all. So regardless of what happens to this young man, it's not going to have any deterrent effect on the problem in the future.
Why is he being brought to the United States? I thought there was some agreement that these pirates would be tried in Kenya. Are they trying to make an example out of him? And then there's some reports that he boarded the Navy ship under some sort of truce, that they gave him or promised him safe passage if he was able to board. I think through the indictment, they were saying that he boarded the ship to ask for safe passage in return for the captain or something of that sort, and that they had agreed, but while he was on the ship, his other pirates were shot.
I haven't seen that report. It would surprise me a little bit if it were true, because the position of the U.S. throughout the standoff was that it wasn't going to negotiate on the question of arresting the pirates, which if they had, that could have diffused the situation without violence. So it'd be surprised in the press reports I saw. There was no indication that they had made.
I thought I had read that in the indictment itself. You can maybe check it.
I find sometimes that we do these things to finish the story of finding the hero, the captain,
to bring closure,
and then bring closure, a bit theatrical. But like Robert said, this can open a Pandora's box.
I just, some of the listeners may listen to this conversation and say, oh, this show or the guest or the host are supporting piracy. Just to clarify, I'm not in any way supporting piracy, but we have to look at how to stop it effectively and not necessarily, dealing with this one situation. It's not over. It's probably going to make the situation more complex.
Yes, indeed, and I would absolutely, and I would encourage people to think about how do you bring these coastal communities on side. There isn't going to be a solution to this problem that doesn't involve having the coastal communities playing a different role than they're playing today. So it seems that what we should be doing is helping the Somali government help resolve the problems of the coastal communities. And, if you've got young guys that are, apparently quite brave, willing to travel the seas, then recruit some of these folks for the Somali Coast Guard and let them defend their coast on behalf of the Somali government. And that may sound wild and radical, but that's essentially what the Bush administration did in Iraq after 2006. Mm-hmm. Made political agreements with the Sunni Arab militias that were previously fighting the government. So that seems to me the direction of a lasting solution is the U.S. and other international players working with the Somali government, working with these communities to solve their problems and restore order.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Robert Neyman, Senior Policy Analyst and National Coordinator for JustForeignPolicy.org. Thanks, Robert, for being on True Talk.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Anytime. And I think Ahmed will take